Alright, so we've gone through the recording, we've transcribed a few licks, so I've got a few here that we can go through now. Now, don't just leave it at that, don't just learn a whole bunch of licks and then just play the licks kind of cut and paste style into your solo. That might work sort of okay, but it won't give you a deep understanding of how to improvise. What we're going to do now is look very closely at each of these licks that I've transcribed and determine what makes them sound like they do. What are the nuts and bolts, the underlying concepts behind each of these licks? And there's actually quite a lot, even in these short phrases, as you'll see. So let's do a little bit of analysis over a few of these. The first one is the one that I showed you earlier when I was demonstrating how to use that transcribe program. So this one sounds like this. Okay, so just note for copyright reasons, this isn't exactly the same lick that is on the recording. It's just a lick inspired by the recording, if you know what I mean. So yeah, just be aware of that. But if you want to get the original one, just have another look at the recording. Okay, but anyway, the same concepts are here, so it'll suffice as an example. Now let's have a look. As we can see, there's an interesting note in this first bar, a C sharp. So let's see what that actually is. Now it appears as though now we've gone out of key because D Dorian doesn't have a C sharp in it. It's got a C natural. So something has changed in terms of the scale choice. Now let's have a look. So if I play D Dorian without with no C sharp, just plain old D Dorian, it sounds like that. Now, but if I play D Dorian with a C sharp, let's see what that sounds like. Okay, we've got a melodic minor scale being used here. So if you add a C sharp onto Dorian, you'll get melodic minor. Onto D Dorian, I should say. Now that's a new color that we can use in our solos. So we could play the backing track, and instead of just playing D Dorian as we've been doing over the track, we can then use melodic minor. So D melodic minor for D minor 7 and E flat melodic minor for E flat minor 7. Now that'll give a quite unusual color to the solo, and I'll demonstrate those in a minute, but we might just keep analysing this lick and see what else is in here. So let's go to the next one now. Okay, so yeah, the last bar at the close of the phrase has a fourth interval. So I'll just play the end of that one. So now that fourth interval is used a lot by horn players. You'll hear it all the time in the solo. It's a kind of a nice pentatonic-y sounding interval, and it's can give a really distinctive jazz colouring to your solos. And I especially like how the phrase ends with this little rhythm and with that interval. It's very characteristic of classic Miles Davis. So that's another idea we can incorporate here. So the concept that we're going to derive is finishing a phrase on a descending fourth interval. So you can write these down in the place where you keep a record of your licks, your lictionary. Write these sentences down below each lick, and that way you can remember what some of the underlying concepts are that you've discovered in these licks. Okay, so let's move to the next lick now. This one is a very tasty Miles Davis lick, another example from the So What solo. Now, I'll play this one to you now. Check it out. It goes... So, now, this has some quite characteristic features here that we can definitely derive. Now, if you look at the notes, the predominant notes that are being used here, it's actually not out of a E flat minor 7 arpeggio. It actually looks like he's playing another arpeggio. Let's have a look. These notes here. So if you look closely, they're not actually based on E flat minor 7 at all. If you arrange the notes like this, you'll get a D flat major 7 arpeggio, and that's actually played over an E flat minor 7. So you can have quite an interesting concept here, is that you can use a major 7 arpeggio a tone below a minor 7 chord. So did you see how I derived that? Because D flat major 7 is 2 frets or a tone below E flat minor 7. And so you can use this concept to solo. So this last lick is a really nice cannonball addedly lick. It sounds like this. Cool. Now, did you hear the pattern that was being formed as we went down that lick then? There's an interesting sequence. So you can hear... that's quite a common musical pattern, but because it's combined with this interesting cross rhythm, it makes for a very interesting musical gesture here. So we can extract that melodic pattern and turn that into a scale pattern to practice as well. Like that. Okay, so that's a descending sequence. So, well, already just looking around a few of these licks, there's been about 5 ideas that we've been able to come up with from these. Now you can then start to practice them one by one, which I'll show you in a minute, and how to actually incorporate those into your practice. So let's do this now.